Well, welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. It is a hump day. Yeah, hump day. It's a cave hump day right now, as it's completely pitch dark outside right now, which is actually beautiful for myself because now I can get some good sleep without worrying about the fucking sun shining in my eyes at the ripe old hour of 5 a.m. My time. Anyways, plenty to talk about over here on Bitcoin today, as we did hit the target towards 10,900ish region after breaking the 10,450ish region, which happened 2 days ago. Now finally reaching that second sort of medium-term target up to the 10,900, 11,000ish region. So what happens now? What happens after all this nonsense has gone through? Anyways, we'll be talking about that and more, of course, and following up on traditional markets as well, of which pretty much everything moves together. So whatever, typically whatever I'm going to say there is similar to what I'm going to say elsewhere as well. And looking at the open interest right now, we actually did come down about 50 million from yesterday to today. Not really telling us all that much, as we just kind of travel up to the top side of the medium-term time frame range. So not really much to update right there, as it is still kind of oscillating within the same areas that we would expect. Looking at the Bitcoin dominance heading up as well, which we can actually put a little bit more of an emphasis on today, as most altcoins are getting creamed versus their Bitcoin pairing, whereas their US dollar pairing is actually going up alongside Bitcoin, or maybe just not up as much, or more or less sideways for some of them. So we'll be taking a quick look at them as well. And the fear and greed index also popping down this is very strange right here. 4 points from 47 to 43, as Bitcoin does head up yesterday from, about 200, 300 bucks. So let's go check out the data tab to see if there's anything out of the ordinary over here as well. And no, not really. Not really. Not really, but I'm very curious, how the fuck are they calculating this fear and greed index over here? You would think that a $300 move yesterday would actually force that up more towards the neutral zone, rather than put us back down into the into what would be considered the fearful zone. But hey, at the end of the day, these are calculated in some very weird, diabolical, algorithmic ways that actually takes into consideration like Twitter headlines and Twitter posts and in all sorts of social media venues. So perhaps it could be gamed. Yes, indeed, that would be a critique against this sort of a thing, but worth pointing out nonetheless. Anyways, let's go check out the Bitcoin price action, and there we are on our GDX chart. We actually haven't been following this one. It was the BitMexican chart. But just kind of go over the last few days. What do we see over here? Well, we saw the 12-hour closure above 10,450ish region, which happened right around here, I believe it was, or sorry, no, this was like way the fuck on over here. Yeah, right here actually on the 14th of September, just getting that nice lovely close above on this time frame right here, also above the 21. That initiated our targets back up to 10.9 to 11,000ish region, this blue box territory right here, which we did hit that yesterday. So what happens now? Well, as we said on the first push, or sorry, on the first pass, very likely to be a pullback. I believe that we've already seen that down to 10,650ish region, which we saw actually, it looks like in our early morning session right here. I was asleep during this time, and now on the very low term time frames, looking like Bitcoin wants to give another try to the upside right now. So I do think that is going to get another try towards about 10.9 or maybe even $11,000 even. But overall, it's kind of like the same thing here now. It's just a different range overall. Overall, Jesus Christ, man, I need to figure out some new words. Please send me a thesaurus and make fun of my fucking speech pathologies in the comment section. It's all good. But yeah, looking at this area right here, Bitcoin does break above. On this next try, I would be looking for a push all the way up towards about 11.2 to 11.3. Anywhere around here would be about good. In this, actually, we're gonna have like a massive box there. I'm gonna take this one down quite a bit so that's a little more relatable for more of a short-term time frame trade. But over here is where I'd kind of be marking off, and that's gonna be in line with the 4-hour 200 moving average on the bottom end of this blue box territory. So anywhere between about 11.2 to 11.3, or sorry, is that 11.2 to 11.3? No, 11.2 to 11.250ish region. So I'd be looking for if Bitcoin could close above, especially 11,000 bucks right here, or if we were to use a higher term time frame, what would be a just as relevant region? I'd say a 12-hour closure above 10,850 probably does it. Not that much of a difference, 150 bucks right there, but overall, that was an initial trigger that actually did fire up before the 4-hour signal right in over here on the 14th of September. So I do think that it is relevant nonetheless. Looking at the daily, is there anything of interest here as well? Yeah, the daily looks like it wants to push through as well. So the daily actually does look good here. I do like the daily Stokes still pointing to the north side. We do have a nice trend line forming right here, but that still would be quite far away from our current price action, and this would be guarding against the neutral zone. So it would actually insinuate that we do have a little bit more free roam here, while the former trend still kind of takes over. So where could that lead us up towards? Well, as you can see right here, as long as we're above the 21 on the daily closing basis, it's kind of difficult to be bearish for myself, especially for like a short-term time frame trade. But looking at this right here, if Bitcoin takes out that 10,850-ish region on a 12-hour closure, or let's call it 11,000 bucks on a 4-hour closure, then yeah, I would be targeting another $300 move to the upside. Or about $500 move to the upside if I'm using the 12-hour, which hopefully that one actually does happen first, as that would be just going level to level once again here. But here's the main thing of what I want to focus on today. If Bitcoin does actually start to close daily totals, especially above 10, 9, 11,000 bucks, then what does that imply? Well, that implies that overall, we're going to start to see all of the hidden bullish divergences really start to play out from our 2-day and 3-day time frames, of which, you kind of already, I think we've actually already seen a good amount of that already play out. Caretaker's RSI actually calling it out very, 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 very well here on the 3-day. And Jesus Christ, if it's not fucking forks and spoons, it's goddamn oats and shit in the morning. Great, just fucking great. Anyways, just clank those bowls, baby, clank those bowls. I hope you get Lexington steeled. Anyways, looking at this right here, yeah, we do have 1, 2, 3 stabs of hidden bullish divergence, and I would say that the easy part of that move is already played out. But if we do start to really see a daily closure above 11,000, then realistically for the 3-day, what will that imply? That implies that we will very likely see this push all the way back up towards 11.5 region, as 3-day stocks will start to turn around naturally within that region. And keep in mind that we actually are kind of around this same trend line that we do see all the way back from here, all the way back from December 2018 lows. We will be hitting that probably on the next tick, and I do believe that we might be getting a new tick today. Sorry, let me get rid of these trend lines. They are relevant for other time frames, not for the 3-day, obviously. But looking at this right here, do we get a new 3-day tick today? We do not. No, tomorrow it will happen. So tomorrow we actually will see we will see the 3-day officially meet that trend line. And this is again a trend line that's been going all the way back from December 2018. That was on the lows. That was quite literally on the lows right here at 3,100. And then the next time that trend line actually hit was about a year later, right around here, or sorry, maybe not a year later. Well, actually, yeah, about a year later in October 2019. That was this major low right here, actually, before this nice $4,000 rally. And then a little bit soon after that, you can see once again it hit it in March 2020, and that was actually the lows right around here at about 4,400 on a closing basis. And once again, while Bitcoin is hovering a little bit above or a little bit below about 11,000 bucks, we're very likely to hit this trend line probably the next tick. And well, 3 times does make a trend, and seeing as we do have hidden bullish divergence in play, 3 stabs, which is usually going to be the stronger of the varieties. I would start to extend targets up towards the middle of 1,000s overall. For like the next week or so of trading, if Bitcoin can actually confirm above those levels again, mediated by the 12-hour and the daily right now, as I don't really feel so confident waiting, another 1.5 day for the 3-day to set, as it's still got today and then tomorrow for trading before it actually, before we actually get that new tick. So a lot can happen in a day and a half, obviously, but for right now, the right thing would be to say is that it is a potential, and with potential could come could come a result, again, assuming that these other things are met. So 12-hour closure above, let's call it again, like 10,850-ish region, I'd be, be looking for essentially the same trade to happen. That'd be the first sort of major thing. Or if I really was intent on using a 4-hour, which I'm not, but if I was really intent on using a 4-hour, you know what, we could actually use 10,850 as well on a 4-hour. I do happen to think that it would work here. That is where the 200 exponential moving average is right now. And as you probably remember, Bitcoin did get death crossed over here. We said that this death cross was unlikely to be anything, the one that you're typically looking for. It's very far away from price action. Doesn't really have the markings of, of a good death cross, and the confirmation that this is going to be a terrible cross, not that it already hasn't, been all that it can be, is if Bitcoin can start closing 4-hour deltas, especially opening and closing 4-hour deltas above it. And where is it situated right now? 10,850-ish region. So if that does happen, then naturally the death cross will turn into a golden cross, and that one actually could set up for a more perfect signal for that. That also imply a little bit more sideways within this region, probably between about 10,850-ish region and 11.2. But if we do start to see a consolidation within that region after Bitcoin actually does take out the 200 exponential average, that would be another good signal that we will see, mid 11,000s, probably upper 11,000, 11,000s tagged over the next, over the next couple weeks or whatever it ends up being. But for right now, technically speaking, we are living below, and my rule is that after we've gone and tested resistance, typically we're going to go find a supports. Now the thing, admittedly, because this did happen during my sleeping time, you know, you could say that we've maybe already done that. And in fact, if you are going to be bullish here, that's exactly what you're going to be saying. So we can now kind of come up with, you know, a short-term range to the downside as well. So which I'd actually just move up from here towards this current base that we're operating off of right now. It's a little bit more of an aggressive read, but I do think that it is warranted, especially in the current posturing of Bitcoin. So I could also say that I am, you know, looking at this as a medium-term and potentially even long-term biased to the upside as long as Bitcoin is closing 4-hour deltas above 10.6. We did say yesterday that as long as 10.6 holds, all good. And while we were looking for a test back down to it yesterday, which we saw actually right after the stream right here, you know, that was still more or less an opportunity. I pretty much have the same thing to say about that today. So realistically, the range that I'm looking at is basically 10.6 to kind of where we are at, where we are right now at about 10.850 to 10.9. And I would say that a 4-hour delta closure above 10.850 probably gets the party started, but I'd feel a lot more confident with the 12-hour in this current posturing. Keep in mind that momentum oscillators on the lower term timeframes are very much hot right now, so it is a little bit of a ticking time bomb. And the more sideways that goes on here, the more naturally it will start to gear up for a short-term pullback once again to 10,600-ish region. And if we do break that area, well, we should probably talk about what happens on the other side, as I would look for a rather quick move back down here towards about 10,250 with a bounce implied. But I think that it very likely only just be that, just a bounce, and very likely come down further to the bottom side of our long-term liquid zone, right around about 10,000 bucks or 10,100 if you're looking at a 12-hour or daily. Anyways, let me make sure that I'm recording. I am recording. The microphone's working, so that's good. So we don't have to redo this one again. Apologies for a little bit of a later video today, but well, I don't really have any real reason. It's also, well, I'm not really like adherent to these times either. But I, you know, I'm always going to do the videos anyways. Just the timing might be slightly off. So yeah, looking at this right here, is there anything on historical volatility percentile that we want to be aware of as well? Yes, maybe not so much on this time frame, but if we do plot it for this time frame, we could kind of do something similar. I'm just kind of drawing a regression more or less on the moving average on this, of which we're still kind of meeting up with that, but that's not the read that we'd be looking for. I think it was more so on the hourly that was having some sort of documentable reading. Yes, indeed, here it is right here. We do have a nice contraction phase going on over the last actually couple of weeks. Since September started. I'm going to do this more as a regression, as it should be a little bit more aggressive here, and it would imply a resolution date probably around the beginning of next week. So when we're looking at this as a resolution for this current contraction phase, well, what is implied by that, or what is the range that is implied by that? Well, the larger that Bitcoin starts to kind of, you know, move off of the lows from the beginning of September, when that read started to formulate itself, then naturally the bigger the range will get, which implies a bigger resolution from this current read. So as it is right now, Bitcoin has, well, found a short-term high, obviously, but we don't know about we don't know about like the overall high of this range. So what I'm looking for now is I'm looking for a clear stop and reverse point on, you know, a medium-term time frame, on a medium-term time frame, which I typically define as like a 10-hour, 12-hour, sometimes even a daily as well. And that will actually be our range, and then we can probably document when the presumed, not necessarily presumed, that's just a wrong terminology, but when the likely breakout or resolution of that range will be. So for now we're still kind of, you know, in the etchings of figuring it out. Should also call out over here, hey, credit to Caretakers RSI. Got some hidden bullish divergence in play right now, although I would say that the easy part of that move is already played out. At least if I was going to take that, that's the move for me, to quote like those fucking tweets. That's the tweet. It's like, all right, thank you for letting me know. Anyways, looking at hourly Joule, we got sell signals all over the place. It's going down, baby. No, of course not. It's just an hourly, you know, doesn't really correlate with that big of moves. Although I did get this move right here. Not at the actual top, but actually on this momentous drive right here from about 10.850 to 10.7, then got another continuation sell signal right here. Not the best one of all time. This isn't hourly after all. You can't really expect like major results from a fucking hourly read. A couple $100 at most is very, 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 very good. And that's about what I see right there. Looking at the buy hourly, do we have the same things in play? Yes, indeed we do. We do have hidden bullish divergence in play right here. Although I would also argue that the easy part of that has already played out, and it's basically the same range as 10.8 10,850 to the upside versus about 10,600 to the downside. Nothing really crazy by looking at these lower term time frames, but we do see with momentum oscillators that most of them are angled down or on the precipice of being angled down. We see 4-hour Stokes down right here. 3-hour Stokes going to be leading them in. By hourly Stokes are already there, and hourly Stokes, as we saw, are actually looking for across the upside. So maybe a short term, flip flop here, but overall, sideways above 10.6 is fine. If we were to see 10.6 break to the downside, that's when these momentum oscillators are going to really start to get going here, and we very likely should be looking for moves back down at the very least to 10,350-ish region. Small bounce applied there with continuation down towards the $10,000 base overall. So it's still very much possible, but right now, as Bitcoin does live above 10.6, fine. And in the medium and higher term timeframes actually do look like they want more. So the lower term timeframe suggests sideways, maybe a little bit down. But as long as the as long as 10 seconds is maintained, especially on the medium and higher term timeframes, all good. At least for another try to the upside. All right. What else do we want to check out while we're here? Let's go look at the 10-hour and 12-hour. 10-hour nice and headed up. And here's another very interesting thing as well. So we spoke about a 10-hour potential death cross coming into 14th of September as well. And the reason why that was relevant is because if Bitcoin failed to rally basically on this dildo right here, we actually would have gotten a confirmed death cross, which would have been a little bit more of a better read in comparison to the 4-hour death cross that we spoke shit about earlier. This one right here, obviously at the very last second, getting those girthy green dildos back above it does show that the bots and algos either want to put in a phenomenal trap right here, meaning just below 11,000 where we are right now, or we're going to see this one absolutely push on through. And the next region that we'd see to kind of push on through right here for a 10-hour is fucking where to the upside? Where is it? Where is it? It's 10,850-ish region. So again, that number keeps on popping up. So I do feel quite good about that one for upside continuation up towards about 11. Let's just call it like 11.3, although it's more or less a range of about $50 from that region. And below it again, 10.6, still the same number popping up here. So it's good that we're seeing confluence around all of the different time frames, but you're noticing me really be curtailed with my language today. And the reason why that is because this is just my game right here. I don't really have a disposition while we're quite literally in the middle of a short-term time frame range between 10.850 and 10.6. That's just me. Of course, for people who have for people who trade differently, they're going to, well, they might be a little more aggressive, maybe even more conservative than myself. But fair enough. This is just the way that I like to do it. Not to say that's the best or the worst way to do it. Not to say that's the only way to do it. Of course not. There's multiple ways to skin a cat. But it's the way that I've found to kind of like keep myself safe over a long period of time in these markets over a decade now, I guess. Anyways, okay. So I guess we've got most of Bitcoin right here. Could do like a quick look at the weekly, I guess, as well. We did hit the 10 simple yesterday, it looks like, and so far rejecting slightly off it. Not anything too crazy, and definitely way too early to be judging it when we are actually less than halfway through the week right now. So it doesn't really mean much on that, but for what it's worth, we actually did confirm this as a local low, and if this is confirmed as a local low, then we got some hidden bullish divergence actually in play on the weekly as well, and that would kind of have similar targets to the 3-day, somewhere right around about 10, or sorry, not 10, but 11.5. If this one does want to get going, again, still held back by the ever so loving area of 10,850-ish region, of which gets where the 10 simple is on the weekly. It's right fucking there. All right, let's go check out Mr. Buter. I'll see what he's doing in the early morning hours as well. And on a weekly, looking actually kind of shitty. On a daily, also looking kind of shitty. In fact, on a daily, looking like he wants some down, looking like he wants to come back down to about 336 region, 337, alongside the Cyan 89 exponential moving average. As this one does, do we have any hidden bearish evidence here? This is a closing price of 386.5. This is a closing price of 387 and 86. So no, we don't actually. So fair enough. All right, no hidden bearish divergence there. But overall, we are going to see daily momentum oscillators turn on back to the downside. If we fail to get continuation like sooner rather than later, I guess I already have that trend line drawn in there. This trend line is guarding against the edge of the bearish control zone. Typically going to see counter trend pressure from that region, and that will turn down, or I would presume that would turn down with any sort of a daily total closure below about 354. What is this area? Yeah, 354 right here, which is also the low of 13th of September. Anywhere below there, 353.5. And this one was 350, or this was actually more like 355. So yeah, either a wick below this low right here or a closure below this area right here. Could probably also use a lower term time frame as well. Yeah, same area right here implied too on a 4-hour, 355. Any sort of a closure below there, or sorry, no, 353.5 for the 4 hour to the downside. Then I would target moves back down towards about 331 to 335 region, probably another bounce there, and then we'll come back and analyze it once again. But it's very strange here because typically we see the whole market move with each other, and to see Mr. Buterin looking a lot more obviously downside angled versus Bitcoin, which looks neutral to up. Does make me double think what I say about Bitcoin. I'd really be neutral right here. I feel like the last few days have had some really nice trades. Yes, they've taken some time to come, but sometimes you can only take what the market gives you. You can't take anything more. So realistically, would I rather be conservative in this region or not? I'd rather be conservative in this region, quite honestly, as we're seeing a bifurcated market right now, and I do not feel comfortable trading against the majority in this disposition. Looking at the 3 hour, yes, looks obviously downside angle as well. Buyout is going to be the same fucking thing. Let's go over here to the 12 hour and see what it's doing. 12 hour momentum oscillator is already turning down right here. And is there anything else of interest? I mean, well, I don't really have actually anything else of interest right here. But this one's still in downtrend for what it's worth. Which is usually worth quite a bit. So there we go. Let's go look at traditional markets. I believe that we hit the 11,500-ish region to the upside. Very similar chart here to Bitcoin as far as the short term goes. I'd basically have the same thing to say about it. I do think it's going to get another short term try to the upside. Does that try actually break a relevant area? And what would that relevant area be? Well, first things first, we do see daily momentum oscillators turning back up to the upside, and we do see hidden bullish divergence present on the daily here as well. 1, 2, 3 stabs, which is really good. And that was driving the 11,500-ish target from the last couple days. But now where's the major area? Well, this is actually where it gets a lot more diabolical, kind of similar to Bitcoin in a way. I really need to see it actually move back above about 11,750, and then I get full on bullish for this thing once again, meaning like I would actually get bullish to the point where I'd be looking for new all-time highs. I know that I have called an all-time high on this, or I've said that it's a potential all-time high. This is like the first time I've really felt like it's a potential all-time high on this on this current run. However, if it does start to move back above 11,750-ish region, I would feel a lot more confident saying that no, this is not going to be your next all-time high. We're very likely to move on to new highs. So for right now, I'm very split on this. The lower term timeframes look a lot more obviously healthy here than both Bitcoin and the other cryptos that we've looked at thus far. In fact, I'd be looking for a short-term move back up to 11,000. What is this? Almost 11.6 region, and above 11.6, then I would target this next push up here towards actually more like 11.750 to 11.8 if I'm looking at the lower term timeframes. Yeah, that does look a little bit more correct to me. Let's just mark this one off with the blue box and kind of measure it, because I would like to document this one a little bit more historically. And yes, indeed. Okay, that was the former breakout area right there. So perfect. Nice little sell-off right here before the continuation drive to the downside. Also very good. That's what I'm looking for. And cool. Okay, so in this regards right here, yes, any sort of a 4 hour dildo closure, especially above about 11,550, I would target a move up here. That's the next big one for myself, though. And if that does happen, I would look for Bitcoin to move up as well. And this can be done two ways: either a 4 hour closure above 11.5 or a wick above whatever our wick high was on the 10th of September, which was 11,566 and 3/4. So one of those two things, whichever one happens first, don't care. But I would be looking for the next drive another $300 or so higher, and that's where the macro can really come back into visual view. We also got a pretty damn good jewel buy signal right here. Not a super perfect one, but a pretty damn good one, and that was on the lows on the 14th. So didn't even get this low right here, but did get the momentum drive out of this space from 11.2 to where we are right now. And does it have more to go? Actually, this signal is probably mostly played out as far as the oscillators go. So what does that mean? Well, it basically means the same thing that I said about Bitcoin as well. I'm very fucking cautious here, man. Yes, it does look like it wants to drive on through. Absolutely. This is probably the best case for continuation to the upside, like more immediately than not. But still, same sort of thing to the downside. Any sort of a 4 hour total closure, especially below wherever this pivot is right here at about just below 11.4, and I'd be looking for another drive all the way back down to the $11,000 base and slightly below. So a lot's at stake right now. A lot's going to be decided probably maybe not by the end of this week, but probably next week, if I had to guess, especially looking at historic volatility percentile suggesting that it's a little bit of a we're in a little bit of a sideways range waiting period right here. Also on also relevant on the daily here for Nasdaq futures. Not only do we have 3 stabs of hidden bullish divergence and also seeing daily Stokes popping back up again as well, but we actually did redline on historical volatility percentile, and that typically does happen on your extremes. So if we're looking at this as an extreme right here, then that's going to be your next local low, and not only is that a local low, it's a higher low as well. Which, if it's a higher low, then the trend is your friend in this case. Let's go look at E-mini futures for SPY. I imagine it's going to be more or less the same. Oh, what do you know? What do you motherfucking know? We hit our target from yesterday, 3,400-ish region. It's basically the same fucking chart. It's basically the same chart. And what I could say about this one is, I'm basically still, I guess, somewhat bullish on this thing as long as we're closing 4 hours above 3,400. The second that we break 3,400 to the downside, I'd look for a quick move down to about 3,350 with continuation implied towards like 3,300 for our range lows thus far. But right now, it does look like once give another try to the upside in the short term. And if that try does overtake, what's the relevant level to the upside? If that try overtakes, let's call it 34.25, especially on a 4-hour closure. Let's actually go down to the time frame to confirm. Yeah, that actually would work. 3,400 would work just as well for me. 34 right here at 34.15, and then either a wick higher above 34.25 right here, and then I would look for continuation back up towards that 34.80ish region, basically 3,500, and that would be more or less alongside the rest of the market heading up to all those next critical levels to the upside that we spoke about earlier. So there it is. Everything's pretty much in concert right now. Which means that Dixie is the conductor. And if Dixie's the conductor, then what's Dixie saying? Dixie looks like it wants to go down here. Daily momentum also is turning to the downside alongside a rejection below the 21 exponential moving average as the 10 symbol crosses above it. While daily RSI does what? Daily RSI, not really, or do we have anything of interest here? We do have, well, we don't really have hidden bearish divergence because we did actually print a higher high above this guy right here. But if we go up to a high enough time frame, I'm sure that we can find it. That's the key thing when it comes to charting, is just go to a time frame that confirms what you want to see, and then you too can be right all the time. No, of course not. But looking at this right here, is it more likely to come down in the short term? It would appear so, yes. It would appear so, but man, yeah, this thing's probably going to drag on for a while now. Looking at a weekly as well. I'm really split on this one because I'm looking for a major low within this region. But that doesn't mean that we can't come back down and even swipe around like 92.25, which is what it's kind of looking to me like right now. Yeah, that would be pretty damn nasty too. Anyways, how are the lower term time frames looking right here? Lower term time frames ain't giving me shit, actually. Yeah, so in that case, looking at 4-hour Stokes, they are popping up right now. I'm sure that the 3-hour, 2-hour, and 1-hour are doing the same thing. Let's look at the 3-hour. Yes, indeed, they are. Yes, let's look at the 2-hour. They're doing kind of flip-flopping around right there as well. Now he's coming down, so a little bit of bifurcation. What does that probably mean? It probably means sideways in a range. This is really, this is actually a really interesting day today because I'm not getting enough from my usual tools to produce an edge right now. So that's my signal not to trade for myself. Like I said, we've had some good trades the last few days. I think that right now it's kind of just time to be watching with a few critical areas in mind. I'd like to play around those, but anything else, not really giving us all that much. Oh, okay, here's something that's a little bit more documentable here as well. Alrighty, okay, so now we're actually coming up with a nice little bias here. Daily Trollinger Bands, finally getting some. There you go, you little Trollinger Bands, plus the MACD as well. Getting back above the 10 simple, and did we even close above the 20 simple yesterday as well? No, just below it on GDAX, but what about Mexico? $10 below it on Mexico as well. What about Stamp? Stamp is $5 below. Okay, so all of them are right around, but more importantly, we have caught the 10 simple, which does have a positive slope. So if we are going to have a nice reversal within this region, this would be the area to do it from, alongside MACD also turning up. So this is why I do have these secondary charts here as well, because with my primary set of tools, they'll catch most of the things that I want, especially the ones that are most relevant to my trading strategies. But these ones right here will catch the kind of like oddball ones that my traditional ones don't get. And so right here, it actually would suggest upside as well, especially if we do close a daily dildo anywhere above the 20 simple, which guess what? It is right around 10,750-ish region. And more importantly, if we actually do see the 10 simple, which is represented by this light blue moving average right here, cross above the 20 simple, which is represented by the brown moving average right here, then we will actually see that have a documentable entry alongside MACD turning up as well, and that will start to really drive targets back up towards 11.5 to 11.750-ish region. So that's what I'd be keeping an eye on for today. So again, that would imply that we need to wait for another daily closure, or at least I would need to wait for another daily closure. Of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not financial advice. It's the further thing from financial advice. In fact, you should turn this off right now and fucking swear at your TV, because I probably don't do that. TV has feelings too. Just looking at the lower term time frames here, just to see. Nothing too much of interest, to be honest, but I probably need to get rid of, well, we can keep that on for now. It's not a huge deal. But yeah, it's all eyes on the daily right now. I imagine that the 12-hour has already fallen through or followed through. Man, I am struggling with my words today. And I even got a good night's sleep last night as well. But yeah, we are kind of trying to trend outside the top side of the Bollinger Bands. Guess where the top side of the Bollinger Bands is on a 12-hour? 10,850-ish region. So it does seem like that area keeps on coming up. And if I had to trade today, that's the area that I'd be using to kind of manage off of. 4-hour, 12-hour, or daily closure above above 10,850-ish region does all the same for me, initiating targets all the way back up overall to about 11.5 with very likely a short-term stop around the way at like 11.2 or 11.3 region for a short-term sell, probably a short-term pullback from that region. Okay, cool. So let's go back on and Reddit over here. And is there anything else that I want to check out today? No, actually, this is a 30-minute video, and I am already behind my own schedule, so I actually want to get on with my own stuff today. But tomorrow, I want to show something actually much more interesting with regards to correlations between the tech market, the Nasdaq, and also Bitcoin as well. I think that there's a lot of very interesting things to be spoken about right there. Maybe we could do like a quick look at the altcoin market. Let's go look at Link. What are you doing, Link? What are you doing, you good old Binance motherfucker over here? Down all the way to our area of 10.5 bucks. I would be looking for a short-term bounce here, but this is not the picture of health and fitness at all, like at all. And I do think that we're probably going to set up for a drive lower, maybe for the next couple of weeks towards 9 bucks, which I actually would be looking for a big bounce there. In fact, that's right around the weekly 21 exponential moving average as well. I'm not bearish on the macro on something that looks like this, obviously, but I do think that yes, it has some downside, probably down to about 9 bucks overall. Short term though, like I said, bouncy bounce, probably in progress. Maybe might even bounce all the way up to like 11.5 bucks. But I'm bearish on this thing for a medium and long term time frame, as long as we are below, especially $12. This area right here, about right around the 4-hour 377. So to me, that is likely to come down a little bit more. We do see daily Stokes looking like they're actually crossing the downside right now, and will confirm across the downside with any sort of a closure here or lower, especially anywhere below 11 bucks is problematic as far as I'm concerned. Let's go check out. Is there any altcoins here that even makes sense to look at? Cardano, what are you doing? Down we go. Where we stop, only Bear Jesus knows. In the fucking others of hell now, isn't it? Probably does bounce off the 200 simple, which is a 20-ish region, but again, this one's going for the full retrace. I do think, as we spoke about, when did we speak about this? I think I started speaking about that like a couple weeks ago. Very likely to have a full retrace for Satoshis. I don't know what that means for the US dollar pairing. Could be up, could be down. Does not imply up or down versus US dollar, just for Satoshis. This is absolutely atrocious of a chart. And let's go check out Mr. Buteau versus Bitcoin. I'm curious how he's doing. He's usually the darling of the market, or the altcoin market, when we're talking about Satoshi pairings. And what do we see here? Not as problematic, obviously. This one doesn't really turn to be bearish until we actually break below 3,150,000 Satoshis on a weekly. On a daily, where's the problems at? Where the problems at? Below 3,170,000 Satoshis. So for right now, kind of just gearing its way, drifting aimlessly sideways. I would say that this does look a lot more toppy on the short-term time frames, like a daily and below. But the weekly says, well, hold your horses for a little bit longer. Because if we do break below the 200 exponential moving average, essentially, I'd be looking for probably a full retrace on this one too, versus Toshi's. And I imagine that that's probably par for the course around the whole altcoin market. We could probably even look at BNB. I know that this one went you know, on a moon mission more recently. So a lot of people are talking about this one. A lot of people asking about this one. Does actually look good here. I actually do think that it will bounce off this current region that we're at, just based off the weekly, probably back up to like 28 bucks. Yeah, probably does. Long term does look more or less constructive here. I do like the volume climax on that last run too. But sideways in a range between your low 20s and 30s realistically is what I'd be looking for over the next few weeks. Does look constructive though, so I would give the edge to the blue laws there. But overall, I'd be looking for a range here, essentially. Like I said, a range between, actually maybe not all the way down to like the low 20s, but like maybe 24 to about 28 and a half. I don't think that this thing's going to do anything of interest anytime soon. I think that's, unless you trade in the lower term timeframes, probably will bounce back up towards $28. But I don't think that's continued this trend to the upside anytime soon. It's going to go sideways and slightly down, and then we'll probably have resolution in like a month or two, because that's the way that cryptos work, baby. That's the way that cryptos work. All you got to do is have 5 minutes of trend and then weeks and weeks and weeks of sideways consolidation, and you must fucking love it, baby. That orange coin of peace and prosperity is your is the coin of waiting and patience, actually. Anyways, that's pretty much it, man. Maybe we could do like a quick look at Ripple. Oh, what's this? Turning on down for the full retrace. It doesn't even have much to retrace. Doesn't even have much to fucking retrace. But guess what, man? Guess what? Even without that much to retrace, you could still count on Ripple to go for the full motherfucking retrace. Ripple? What do you have to say about that? Sir? Ripple? Sir? Sir? God damn it. Downboard work. I wanted so badly for my soundboard to work right there. How dare you? How dare you? Well, all right, enough of that. Okay, well, that does it today. No, let's go check out gold. I still think it gets a try towards 2,000 bucks here. Above 2,000, I get bullish for a much bigger move, probably towards 2050-ish region. Fair enough. Yeah, actually, gold still looks okay here. Still, these are still all higher lows. These are all higher lows. It's an inverted Lexington steel right there. All right, back on to Bitcoin. Let's cover the ranges once again. 4-hour closure above 10,850 or 12-hour or daily above 10,850. And yes, I would start to extend targets towards 11.2, 11.3 short term with 11.5, maybe at 11.75 implied over time over the next like week or two. By the same token, to the downside, 10.6 is the magical number. As long as we're living above there, I do have, I guess, biases to the upside. Although I don't feel all that inclined to trade it right now. Below 10.6, then we get to play out the same range that we had for the last week and a half. We get to go down to 10,350-ish rather quickly. I'd look for probably a small bounce there with continuation, very likely back down to $10,000 base. Anywhere between 10 and 10,100-ish region would look about right. With that said, I'd like to wish you the best, and the happiest. Take care, and until next time.